Marcus built his life on carefully crafted lies. To his friends, he was a devoted father, always busy with the girls, always working overtime to provide. To his family, he painted pictures of school runs, bedtime stories, and weekend outings. He spoke with such confidence that no one questioned him. Why would they? The image was convincing. He wore it like a well-tailored suit. But the truth lived elsewhere, quiet, neglected, and slowly breaking apart. His daughters, Alina and Sari, lived with their mother across town. Their days passed without him. No calls, no visits, no presents, just promises that never arrived. At first, Marcus convinced himself it wasn't that bad. "I'll go next week," he'd mutter, raising a glass to his lips. "I just need to get myself together first." But next week became months, then years. Alcohol filled the spaces where responsibility should have been. It dulled the guilt, softened the edges of reality, and gave him an escape from the version of himself he didn't want to face. In those dimly lit bars, surrounded by people who didn't ask questions, Marcus could pretend he was still in control. Until the truth caught up with him. It started quietly, whispers passed between mutual friends, subtle shifts in conversation. Then it grew louder. His ex-wife, tired of covering for him, finally spoke out. She told people what was really happening. Not out of spite, but out of exhaustion. Out of pain. "She's been doing it alone," people began to say. "He doesn't even check on them. He drinks more than he shows up." Marcus first heard it at a small gathering. The laughter around him felt different that night. Sharper, heavier. Conversations stopped when he approached. Eyes lingered a little too long. And then someone said it. "I heard your daughters asked why their dad doesn't love them." The words didn't just land, they cut. Marcus froze. The room seemed to shrink around him. For a moment, he couldn't breathe. They didn't say that," he stammered, but even he didn't believe it. Because deep down he knew. Children don't measure love in excuses. They measure it in presence. And he hadn't been there. The shame hit him all at once, like a wave he couldn't outrun. Everything he had hidden, everything he had denied was now exposed. The lies that once protected him now suffocated him. Soon after, the court order came. Child support, a formal acknowledgement of his failure, stamped and enforced. It wasn't just about money, it was accountability, something he had avoided for far too long. Every payment felt like a reminder of what he hadn't given when it mattered most: time, attention, love. Marcus cried the day he received the papers. Not quiet tears, but the kind that shake your entire body. The kind that come from a place so deep you didn't even realize it existed. Years of denial cracked open in that moment. But instead of rebuilding, he broke further. He drank more. What started as a crutch became a cage. Mornings blurred into nights, bottles replaced conversations, silence replaced responsibility. The more people knew, the harder it became to face them. So he stopped trying. When he walked down the street, he felt it, the looks, some filled with judgment, others with pity. Both felt unbearable. He imagined what people were thinking. That's him, the one who abandoned his kids, the drunk. Whether they actually thought it or not didn't matter. The shame had rooted itself in his mind, replaying over and over, louder than any real voice around him. He stopped answering calls, stopped visiting familiar places, stopped being Marcus, the man who once had potential, and became Marcus, the man people talked about. But the worst part wasn't the gossip. It wasn't the court orders. It wasn't even the loneliness. It was the echo of his daughter's voices, words he never actually heard but felt in his soul. "Daddy doesn't love us." That sentence haunted him. Late at night, when the alcohol wore thin and reality crept back in, he would sit in the dark, staring at nothing, hearing it again and again. not as an accusation, but as a question he could no longer answer. Because what proof had he given them otherwise? One evening, sitting alone with a half-empty bottle, Marcus looked at an old photo on his phone. Alina was smiling, missing her front teeth. Sari was clinging to his arm, laughing. He remembered that day, before everything unraveled, before the lies, before the distance, before the version of himself he had become. His hand trembled as he held the phone. Tears blurred the screen. For the first time in a long time, the alcohol didn't numb the pain. It amplified it. And in that raw, unfiltered moment, Marcus faced the truth he had spent years running from. He hadn't just lied to others. He had lied to himself. The road ahead felt impossible, repairing broken trust, facing his daughters, rebuilding a life buried under shame. But for the first time, the weight of that reality didn't push him toward another drink. It made him sit still and feel. Because somewhere beneath the guilt, beneath the embarrassment, beneath the man everyone now saw, there was still a father who had a choice to make. Not about what he would say next, but about who he would become next.